Hey guys, welcome to Ingo's Restorations. I've got the right side wheel bearing now mounted on here, and I'm going to show you the other side how I did it. I still got to put the rotor back on it and bring it down on the ground and torque it to 200 and I think it's 214, 210 foot-pounds. But I'm going to do that with I'll do both of them at the same time. So right now we're going to go over to this side, and the side I haven't put anything on it, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'll show you how I'm going to do this side. This side does have the sensor, the wear sensor, so we'll have to deal with that. A couple of things I want to let you guys know. Make sure that back here, the back end of the bearing, the little rubberish plastic plate doesn't get stuck back here. Make sure you've cleaned, you've taken everything out of it. This is a good time to also try to clean up this area a little bit, spray it with some degreaser and clean it up as best you can. Clean this up here. I'm going to take a little bit of like a cloth, like what you use to scrub the pans, and with I'll put some PB Blaster on here and just clean this up and make this as smooth and as clean as possible so we can get started. So let's get this cleaned up here, and then we'll go ahead and get the backing plate on here. So we'll see you in a bit. Alright guys, I wanted to show you this before I go any farther. This is what holds the wear sensor on the driver's side for the front. So it goes onto this metal clip right here, and then this cable right here. Let's see if we can do this one. This cable right here will end up going on this screw right here. So you're going to want to scrape a little bit of metal away from here so you have a good ground on here. That's what this is a ground cable. So once you get that, then this gets flipped over and it ends up going on right here. So let me go ahead and get that all put together, and we'll go from there. Alright guys, we got the plate back on here, so you can see the cable goes on here. Goes on this little tab right here, and let's see if we can show you the back side here. Let's see, where are you? Yep, right there. There's the ground cable. It's bolted on there with the nut. So that's all taken care of, and then I've also cleaned up the shaft here, like I told you, with like the Scotch-Brite and a little bit of PB Blaster, and it's all taken care of. It's nice and smooth. Make sure that when you remove this, maybe you made a little nick or something on this, and you can take a very, very fine lost my train of thought. A fine file. That's what I was trying to say. A file. Just a real fine one. I happen to have one, and you can any kind of little nicks or something like that, you can smooth it off. So there's nothing there. So now we're going to go ahead and get ready to install the wheel bearing. Everything is ready to go. All right, I'll show you that in a bit. So one thing I wanted to mention before we go any further. This particular wheel bearing hub comes with the ABS sensor. That's what these little grooves are right here. This is an ABS sensor. This particular vehicle does not have the ABS sensor. I am not sure if you can get this on, if this isn't going to hit, if that backing plate isn't different. I'm just not sure, and I can't take a chance because once you put this hub on, when you remove this hub, you are not supposed to reuse these. These are one-time use. So we're trying to get this car to my son up in Cherry Point this weekend, so I cannot try to put this on here and then find out it doesn't fit and then go through that whole mess. So what I did is I used this little grinder on the other one, and you can see I kind of just grinded it down, and it popped. It popped. You can see it. It popped open, and then it came right off. You can also probably get a puller and try to get a puller and pull it off, or cutting wheel and slice it. Just gotta be careful you don't mess anything up, and you don't want any metal shavings getting anywhere in here. I put some tape over it, so there was nothing. I mean, if somebody knows if you can put these on and it doesn't matter, just let me know in the comment section. That would be great, so we don't have to go through all that. But like I said, I'm just not quite sure, and I don't want to take a chance, and it's not that big of a deal to take it off, and it's not needed. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take this off. You got to cut these straps off so that it's ready to install, and then we'll do that. All right. So guys, this is how it looks now without the ring on it. It's pretty easy to take off. It pops and just slides right off, so that's pretty easy to do. So I've got all this on here, and now I've got a little bit, I put a little bit of this is just some high temperature grease. Just put a little coating on here, and these are the tools that I'm going to use to put this in. There is actually a BMW tool. I'm trying to find it that's supposed to, you know, I think it's supposed to thread. I think there's threads in here, and it kind of just it's a bolt and it pushes it in, which would be the ideal thing, because you don't want to be pounding too much on this. So I got this from AutoZone, so I'm going to put this right in here, and then I'm going to use my dead blow hammer. I'm not going to use a metal hammer. I used the dead blow. It worked really well on the other side. You don't want to be too much pounding on this, because you don't want a lot of pressure and stuff to be messing with the bearings in here. So that's why I'm going to use that. This will only get me so far, because what will end up happening is this is going to end up hitting up against here, so I only can go on so far. So using one of my sockets, you want to get the socket to be pretty much the same size as the race. That's what you want it. So this guy will work just fine. It'll go in here, and then I'll pound this the rest of the way in. And then what I'll end up doing is putting the collar nut on here, and I'm going to take it down and torque it to about 100 foot-pounds, and then we'll put the rotors on there. But I'll show you how it looks after I get that far. I'll be back in a bit. Alright guys, so we've got it on. One of the things I didn't say, I told you I put a little bit of grease on the shaft itself, but I also put a little bit of grease on the inside of the race, on the back side there, just to make it a little bit more lubricated. This one did give me a little bit more trouble, not a whole lot, but just a little bit more. Went on a little bit harder, but it went on pretty good. The collar nut is on here. It's torqued to about 100 foot-pounds. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and put the rotor on here. I'm not sure if I'm going to go ahead and just put the brakes and everything back together, but definitely at least put the rotor on here, and then jack it up, put it on the ground, and go ahead and tighten it to the right spec. Alright, I'll show you that in a bit. Alright guys, I got everything back together. The wheels, I put the brakes all back together so that they're all done. So as you can see, I took the cap off his rim, and now I have access to the nut. It's sitting not completely on the ground. The jack's holding up a little bit, but it's touching. So I'm going to go ahead and torque it. It's 210 foot-pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then jack it up, take the wheels off, put the dust cover on there, and take it for a ride, see how she goes. Alright, talk to you later. So if you guys remember, when I took this piece off, this is the dust cap, I had some issues with it. Kind of messed it up a little bit. I don't know if you can see that. It's a little dented. I hit it with the punch and try to straighten it out. I cannot get these right now. All the websites say they're back ordered and they don't know when they're coming in. So for now I had to fix it as best I can, and then I'll put it on, and then I'll clean it with a wire brush and make it a little bit nicer looking. So tires are back off. This is all torqued down to the 210. So now what you have to do is, if you can see if I can get this. If you can see, there's a little notch right here. So you take a punch and you punch it right here and break this material to come inside here nice and flat, so that this collar nut cannot move out. So that's the next step, and I'll show you how that looks in just a bit. So you can see there, I've punched that in. So now that collar nut can't move. It's locked in place. Right torque specs. Okay, so let me get the cap on here. Alright guys, got it all back together. Cap's on here as best as it can be for now. I'll have to replace that as soon as I can get some. All the brakes, everything's all back together. He's probably going to change the brakes soon. He wants to do the whole suspension, so probably in the next 6 months we'll be making a video on changing. He wants to do coilovers and changing all that up, so that'll be all done. The last thing we're going to do here is going to put the tires and everything on that. The rims he has uses these spacers, because the the center part of the rim is larger, so it has the spacers. Just a little note here, you want to put a little bit of grease around here and then a little bit on here so that when it won't corrode on there, although it's plastic, so the two metals aren't really touching. So, but I put a little bit on there just to keep it easier to take on and off. So I'm going to go ahead and put all those on and put the tires on it and get it off the stands and take it for a test drive and make sure everything's working okay. All right, that's it for this video. Thank you.